with the buzz. And my in-studio guests, of course, tonight, Mayor Bob Lizama and Angel Sablan, the Executive Director of the Mayors Council of Guam. Angel, let me ask you this scenario here, because one of the, I think the biggest problem with this whole thing happened when, of course, a story came out regarding a road closure at a party. I think it's up in Barrigada, I think it is, where a bouncy, one of these child play things were supposedly situated in the middle of a road. I think that's the genesis of that, and so that was supposed to be indicative of all closures of you know, given the power of the mayor. And you know, I may have seen that, and I probably looked at that as well. I mean, I know I looked at it as that was disturbing to me, but all the road closures that I've seen that mayors have had have not been like that.
Yeah, and that picture actually did not give justice to that road closure, because even though that bouncer was in the middle of the road, there was access on both ends.
Oh,
in case there was an emergency. Neighbors knew about it, they were informed, GPD was informed, the mayor's personnel were there to make sure that, you know, traffic still flows on either end should something come up. This whole thing has never been a problem. I mean, now that it's codified, it's a problem. I mean, all the AG said was that the mayors don't have authority in statute to close the roads, but residents can apply to have roads closed for functions like rosaries and emergencies and things like that. So all the law did was give the father or the mother of the village the authority to be the one to do it for their residents. I mean, just because it says routed roads and non-routed roads, how many times have we closed Route 1 since the law was passed, enacted? You know, we have Liberation Day Parade for the past 67 years. We've never had a problem in closing in the entire road.
And emergency vehicle have access to again, areas, roads that they can.
Statute says that mayors and vice mayors are responsible for the safety of their communities. It doesn't say the Director of Public Works, it doesn't say the Governor of Guam, it doesn't say the senators, it says the mayors and vice mayors are responsible for the safety of their communities. No mayor is going to put up and close a road if they think it's not safe for them.
You know, I would assume that, and again, I would assume at this point that if a road closure by the mayors would be in violation or possibly, again, jeopardizing federal funds, I would assume that any road closure by anybody at any time for any period of time, be it an hour or two, or in this case a Liberation Day festivities, a major thoroughfare. And how many times have we seen emergency vehicles maybe even picking up patrons within the carnival grounds or the parade grounds to go to, again, to transport them to a medical facility? If that's the case as well, I think even that can jeopardize a federal funding. Would you think?
Every Wednesday evening in front of Chamorro Village, they put a blockage there, cones to control the flow of pedestrians from one end to the other. That's a blockage of the road. But yet nobody talks about that because it's for the safety of people walking from one end to the other. It's like I said, what has never been a problem all of a sudden is a problem because, you know, it's codified. You know, show mayors and vice mayors some respect. You know, they know what they're doing in their villages.
Like I said, I've been to every village fiesta, every village procession when the feast arrives for that particular village, and sometimes there's lane closure, sometimes there's not, depending on the village, depending on, you know, the width of the roads and things like that. There's always been mayor staff, you know, I mean, assisting continuously. I guess pretty soon they're going to tell the mayors to not assist maybe in church functions, the separation of a church and mayors.
Well, you know, of course, you know, I've been mayor for 16 years. I've served in the government for 29 now, combining my Guam police. And incidentally, you mentioned I retired from the Guam police. No, I didn't retire.
Oh, you retired? Okay.
I worked actually 13 years left as a sergeant in the Guam police and seeked office, and I've been doing that since then. And, you know, even back then when I was a police officer, you know, I've always looked at that as, you know, separation of church and state and government, you know. But, you know, our island is so, you know, so small in what we do, and we survive in many ways that we can in making things work for our island. And part of our island comes our culture and our traditions, you know. And I like to, you know, echo, of course, Mr. Mendiola, because he's also one of the great listeners on the Buzz Show, you know, from Sinahanya, you know, who called me on this whole issue, you know, and had mentioned that, you know, he can't accept the fact, you know, he can't accept the argument that, you know, now that we're given the authority, we're still being questioned by it, you know, and that it shouldn't be the case, because for many years things has happened out in Marine Drive, things has happened around the islands, fiestas, you know, and only now we're having a problem with this. You know, I really feel for the southern end of the island. You know, perhaps maybe Jigo we can adjust, because we have, you know, wider lanes, you know, where we can have our processions, perhaps maybe utilize half of the road or so forth and so on, or much of the shoulder that they have on routed roads. Yeah. You know, and I think the time that's spent on arguing on the authority that has been given to the mayors should be more concentrated on finding ways to improve the safety of the roads. You know, Route 1 still has a tremendous work with the you know, uneven roads and the cracked roads, or you know, the pavement. Route 4 has the same thing. Route 8, Route 10, Route 16. There's many that still needs to be done, and I think the attention and the focus should be on that. Now, if we're talking about our culture and our tradition, you know, and also our social gatherings, and not even our tourism, you know, is going to be impacted. What difference is it that Public Works is authorized to close a routed road that is funded by Federal Highway versus the mayors that is authorized by law now, that's codated, that is authorized to close the road? What difference is there between the two?
And the last I found out, at least 5 minutes ago, we're still the same government, right?
Understanding, yes, of course. and you know, and it bothers me now that the mayors got the authority to block off. And you know, the mayors aren't going to go out there and block off because they want to block off. They're going out there to block off for the purpose of the request of their constituent to better whatever services that they need to render to a constituent, to an event. You know, and this thing is all walks of life. You know, we have so many island-wide 5Ks. You know, 5Ks is the thing on the island now that people do 5Ks for medical incidents or for medical reasons, for health. You know, and now these are all jeopardized. Now, again, it goes back to the question: if the mayor was to authorize that 5K closure at a routed road or highway or route, or however they want to identify it, that is funded by the federal highway system, what difference is it if Public Works is doing the same thing? You know, I think that needs to be looked at. But when we do close roads, of course, we provide, and we had our meeting last month on our regular month, or this regular month meeting that passed last week, and you know, we emphasized to our colleagues, of course, you know, that what we got to do, and you know, we got to work together and help each other. You know, if I'm short of cones that I have to close a road, call your neighboring village and borrow, or you know, let's help each other. Signage, you know, because a certain village, Derudo may have a big event that Jigo don't have, that's on the same weekend, and perhaps they can borrow my, and we do share, you know, in many things. Not only do we share, but we help each other, you know, in making this thing work, you know. And again, you know, another that was echoed from one of our colleagues, you know, is that emphasis on the safety of our pedestrians, you know, is important. I think if it's going to work, if the federal highway system does provide the funding for Guam, perhaps maybe they should lobby for more funding so that we can have a sidewalk for the pedestrians that walk along Route 4. You know, it's scary walking from Route 4 McDonald's up the hills to Sinahanya without a sidewalk, you know.
Or a bike lane.
Or a bike lane. Yeah, that's right.
Or how about a power pole in the middle of a
exactly.
sidewalk? I was going to say that the federal highway, we haven't received their letter or seen their letter, but I think they need to redirect their focus. Instead of worrying about mayors closing roads, worry about all those concrete posts that are right smack in the middle of the sidewalk. And a person who's using the sidewalk or riding on the sidewalk has to get off on the main highway anyway and walk around those poles. How many tragic fatalities have happened because of those? I mean,
it's fact that on major highways, people's lives have been lost due to the power poles being right there. I don't think there's been any incidents where road closure from a mayor in the prospective villages has cost a life.
No, you know, it's enhanced the movement of vehicles.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and wrap this up. We'll be right back.